everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is David McCracken. I'm based in Sydney, Australia, and I'm lucky enough to now be working on our third ULI Hines student competition across Asia Pacific. We're really privileged to be able to now run this for the third time in the region and to keep on engaging with you guys and girls as young graduates, early professionals, and sharing the ideology of both the Hines organization that supported this competition initially in the United States and with ULI ourselves. So if you want to start the pack, Keneal, what we've got here is a briefing pack for you. This will be available on the competition website, so you can come back and refer to it. I'm going to give you an overview of ULI, how we work together, how we work as an organization, and then give you some information specific about the program, not the brief, not the competition brief, but the competition outline today. So what is, next slide, Keneal, what is what we're going to talk through today is the competition and the key dates for you, how we work through, and what hopefully you'll enjoy as a recognition as a finalist or a winner of the competition. So to introduce you to ULI, we're a global based organization. It's an interesting real estate group in that it's, next slide, Keneal, it's a multiple disciplinary property group. It's not just developers, it's not architects and urban designers, it's not just funding or investment, but it is across all the disciplines. And they have a mission globally, which they work together as professionals to share their learnings to shape the future of the built environment for communities globally. So when it addresses issues in corporate real estate in Manhattan in New York versus housing, affordable housing in the suburbs of Beijing, say, or we've done studies about heat warming and the heat curtain in Hong Kong, for instance. So the membership is diverse, and their ability to come together and connect memberships through that network to inspire best practice and share best practice learnings that they've shared. It's a great organization, and that's what the Americans bring to this organization, where they don't just boast about their successes, but they actually share their learnings to make the next generation better, and then to solve the real estate challenges that draw on global experience and apply them locally. So that's the mission of ULI. We have some priorities that change over time, so those missions are permanent and forever. What ULI feels are key issues for our industry right now are decarbonisation and going towards net zero, housing affordability, housing attainability, deliver of housing that suits the community's specific needs globally in various markets globally, and then continuing to transfer knowledge from industry leaders and traditional formats to you, the next generation of real estate leaders. And through that, we bring together communities, we bring together diversity, multiple opinions, and that's why the multidisciplinary side of the organization, the multidisciplinary side, the diversity of views that share our vision going forward. Next one, the scale of it, it's the largest real estate industry body in the world. It's got 50,000-ish members across 80 countries. It's governed in 3 regions, in the Americas, in Europe, and in the Asia Pacific. We run a whole lot of programs and events. They're all on the website. We bring together the expertise of our members and apply them philanthropically to regions in advisory panels and technical assistance panels. They are where professionals come together and meet to discuss a project. I was on one in Wuhan about a new city many years, probably pre-COVID it was, about a new city of 5 million people. So you come together and work with the local sponsor, often the city, or sometimes there's partnership between the city and a developer to solve a particularly complex problem and give guidance for that community going forward. And to date, we've had our program of Urban Plan, which is about exploring learnings about density and community engagement, and where mixed use development adds to the vibrancy of a community. And over 50,000 students have engaged in that in the last 20 years that it's been running. So that's our reach and impact. Where we are globally, I think, Nick Keneal, next slide, is we have our diverse membership. You can see we have a lot of developers, but we've got investment, architects and urban planners, both government and not-for-profit, are mixed across all of our section, consultants, attorneys, engineers. So it is very diverse. And what you get when you go to a ULI conference, or when you talk about a challenge in a ULI environment, you get the architect debating quite passionately with the investment guy and the developer and then the city, and you get that diversity of views, and everyone's learning as they're debating from their point of view. And where is that impacted? So if you look at the next slide, globally, we operate right across the world, but in Asia Pac, we have 8 local councils: Australia, China mainland, Hong Kong, India, Japan, Philippines, Singapore, and South Korea, with new markets emerging in Vietnam. We have product councils, which are industry leaders coming together in a sector-specific forum, be it hotels and tourist accommodation, whether it's placemaking, or whether it's commercial real estate, or whether it's investment. So those product councils meet 4 times a year as sector specialties. And we also work in 2 diversity groups of the Women's Leadership Initiative, ensuring the voice of women is heard and recognised across the industry, and also our Young Leaders Group, which are under 35 group, which work and are visibly represented by members across all of our markets. So that's a little bit about ULI and how we operate as an organisation, and the scale of us with our 3,000 members in Asia Pacific. Okay, so moving on to the competition itself. The competition, and thanks for all coming on today and being interested. We are a little time bound and on our annual program. It runs in the first half of the year. It doesn't always fit your educational curriculum program, but it's timed to come in after Christmas, the Christmas break, and then to be finished, avoid Easter and New Year, and then to climax with announcement at our Asia Pacific Summit, which is always held in the latter part of May, somewhere in the region. So next year, the summit is in Hong Kong, and so the winners of the competition this year will be attending the summit in Hong Kong. So I'll take you through the competition outline. Next slide. It is born out of an initiative made by a fellow called Gerald Hines, who's head of the Hines Corporation. He and many of the organizations that founded ULI in the States were very philanthropic, very successful companies that gave a lot of money back philanthropically and generated programs to support the future of real estate and the education of the retail industry. So Gerald Hines, the photo there, created this project with the in 2002, and we're now in the 23rd year in Americas, and it's a key part of their established curriculum. We're getting better in Asia Pac. It's our 3rd year now, and we are getting more competitors each year and getting better in refining it. And it does rely on your universities, your educational institutions to support it. And in the US, it's part of their curriculum now, quite in those major universities that participate. Okay, he has donated endowment for the ongoing running of the competition, and we've got similar support we have here. So what is it? No, next one, Keneal, you're right. Next, what does it actually mean? We have next slide, Keneal, please. The competition offers graduate and final year undergraduate students to come together. We look for multidisciplinary teams. You need to come from at least 2 disciplines. We have urban design, we have sustainability, we have architecture, we have economics, we have structural engineering and civil engineering, and we have financial management and economics and business, all opportunities to come together. And you need to come and engage in solving a challenge of proposing a development use on a site selected by us as the competition organisers. Teams are made up of between 3 and 5 students in at least 2 different disciplines. The competition runs for just over 3 weeks, and you need to propose a development program with a time frame, a delivery program. So you need to understand construction planning, and you'll have a financial pro forma to work through. So you work out how much funding you need and your financial return. So it's got to be a value-led design project. It's got to have financial sensibility. It's got to understand staging. It's got to have infrastructure investment to make it happen. And it's got to be profitable, as well as be a quality design. It's got to be sustainable. It's got to add value to the city in which it's located. So the teams, your submission responds to the competition brief. The competition brief is about 20 or 30 pages. And your response is to include a narrative or description of the proposal, presentation boards that convey the urban design and strategy, and market feasible financial data. So we'll give you a pro forma there that you just fill in you need to understand how the economic modeling works, and you'll be given some base data, but you do need to understand how the commercial programming, the template helps you. It is a pro forma. So you're not starting from scratch, and you must respond to that pro forma. It is an ideas competition, so it's not asking for an absolutely applicable solution. We standardize planning controls so that someone, if the competition site perhaps is in Singapore, Singaporeans aren't overly advantaged against competitors. So we will put criteria in the brief to make it specific to the competition, rather than maybe there's standard statutory controls that may relate specifically to that site in its location. And that this program, reason we run the program is to raise interest among young people and give you the opportunity to increase your skills about presenting your work to a professional jury. And ultimately, the winners get to present their winning submission to some 500 or 600 real estate leaders at our summit in Hong Kong next year. So how does it actually run? Next slide. We will issue a competition brief. The competition brief sets out some site parameters. They're slightly customized for the project. We'll give you planning controls, density, FSR ratios. We'll give you some additional site factors and infrastructure connections that may exist around the site that may influence the viability, or where you have to make allowance, for instance, if it was a subway, to make sure that you've got the funding for a subway, that you can't just assume it's going to happen. The whole project needs to understand all of the funding streams required to make the development proposal deliverable. And then you need to come up with a competition that you act as the investment group who has essentially selected your team to prepare for them a development proposal on the specific site. The opportunity will be a mixed use, transit orientated. So that gives you clues that there will be infrastructure connections. We are not looking just for an office environment or a residential environment or a community focused or educational campus. It needs to be a mixed use, medium to high density solution. You need to provide a vision and a description of that job, a proposal, what makes it transform the site in a sustainable and equitable and engaging way. And then you evaluate the urban outcomes, the civic benefits, the community benefits, and then the financial potential for the development of the site. Your proposal must demonstrate that it adds benefit not just to the site, but to the local and regional stakeholders. It talks about, we're looking for responses that address sustainability and resilience, how the neighborhoods of the area are enhanced or reflected, and how your development proposal has different neighborhoods within it and different characters and experiences within it. It needs to include affordable housing and price differential. It cannot just be all high-rise condos, for instance, and high-end condos. I mean, you may propose that, but you may be assessed that is not meeting the housing affordable question that we ask you to address. and consider, and you need to convey a broader vision for the site in the city context. So that means that it's not just a standalone project, but for instance, if the site was in Singapore, that it makes Singapore more attractive and the Singapore neighborhoods around it more resilient, more sustainable, and more attractive. Okay, and no questions as yet. So I'll go to the next slide. To summarize the process, your registrations are open now. This is part of the briefing process. We're looking for you to submit your registrations as early as possible, but definitely by the 14th of February, because we need to verify your registration. So your registrations ask you to submit your university details and graduate details and your sponsor and your sponsoring university, and we check in with that university. So you must allow time for us to audit those entrants and get them tested for eligibility. To be eligible, you must have graduate or final year undergraduate students in at least 2 disciplinary streams, supported by a sponsoring university. If you have some diversion from that criteria, please submit an email to us. There on the website, there'll be an information email address, and Keneal will gather our response. We can be a little flexible in some of those, the way that we've had previous years. Whilst one particular university might have multiple faculties, they've been able to do that. Or we might have a second year student as part of a team, because that's who they could get as part, and we've granted entry on that basis. We will, after closing on the 14th of February, we'll confirm by email all the successfully registered teams by the 18th of February. And on the 21st of February, the brief will come out and commence the competition period, which will run for just over 3 weeks, with your submission to be made online by the 18th of March. After your submission is lodged, it's assessed by the ULI team for compliance, that it meets all the criteria, and then those that are compliant entries are distributed to the jury, who have a couple of weeks to review them, and we come together in a number of jury sessions and assess those entries, and then shortlist up to 3 finalists. So we shortlist sometime, if we had if we had 2 outstanding standout finalist teams, we wouldn't just bring a third in for the sake of it, probably. But if we have one year we couldn't split 4. So our guideline is we target 3 finalist teams, and those finalists are given a bit of time to then turn their submission into a PowerPoint presentation. It's not to do more design. You may have some specific questions or feedback required from the jury to consider, and then you have an opportunity to present your proposals live and virtually to the jury on the 11th of April. So you should all, who are interested in going that far in the competition, log that date in your diaries now. It runs, that session, with 3 finalists, probably runs for 6 hours. So it's a full day for us, but for you, you'd be have a half-hour, 1-hour window to present and have some Q&A with the jury. After the 11th of April, the jury will meet again, and they will judge the winning entry. That winning entry will be notified, and but will not be publicly announced until the ULI Asia Pac Summit in Hong Kong from the 26th to the 29th of May next year. So that's the time frame. Wrong way, I think. Keneal. Next slide. The winners are advised early and enjoy a fully paid trip, flight, accommodation, and full access ticket to the summit. So you get to meet, I've been to the last 2 summits where the winners are there. They are treated very well, and they're engaged with a lot of conversation, and they get high recognition and visible. They get an opportunity to present their proposal during the summit, and we present the overall running of the competition. And all finalists who are shortlisted receive a 1-year ULI membership to engage in your local market with ULI. So that's pretty beneficial. Certainly the winning team, the value of that is significant for those, and the experience is exceptional. So next slide. We thought we would touch on, so I'll just clarify that. So all the finalists get one-on-one mentorship with the Hines leaders as they're going through that final phase to their presentation. They have a CV where they can talk about the benefits of running the competition. They get networking opportunities, the student membership, and if they are interested in attending the summit, we'll give you a discounted rate to attend that. The winning teams, a fully paid trip, the access to the ceremony, the presentation, and then a networking breakfast with Hines and ULI Asia Pacific senior executives to meet and greet and meet the jury and talk about the project and the experience, teach us what you enjoyed or what you didn't enjoy, and we can continue to improve our program going forward. Okay, still, I can't see any questions in the chat room if indeed it's open or not, but that's fine. Now the way, Keneal, what I thought I'd do now is just share a little bit about, now that we've had 2 competitions, I'll show you the previous competition. So if you go to the next slide, the first competition was held in Singapore. The competition site was in Singapore in the Jurong Lake district. So you can see here that the development plan was already in place. It had MRT stops. It was south of a lake, Jurong Lake, which was a recreational lake. And you can see the red line in the middle of this slide. That was the competition site. It also had some, not derelict building, but it had a scientific center in it as part of the site, and some botanical buildings that were listed to be retained and fit into the site. So that was the site for the 2023. If you go to the next slide, the winning entry was from Waseda University, Japanese students, and they address the sustainability issues around the site. We thought we'd put these in to show you an example of the sort of graphics and explanations. So the boards are made up of imagery of the site, studies about density and urban fabric, studies about diversity of use, how the sustainable community works, how biometrics work, or sustainable design, green landscaping, blue water spaces, green spaces are worked. And so part of this is ensuring it is not so much just a graphic, it's not a design competition, but it needs to have a very structured approach and a sound development, a proposal. So it's not just that the best design wins, the design, the strategy, the development proposal, the diversity of mix, the economics are all weighted evenly as we assess the program. So the next slide shows the other graphics of that submission. And it's about the mix of the projects and the different attributes, the community elements, how the legibility of the site allowed sightline connections to the blue space, the green park, and the lake, and how scaling and density worked around the site, and how it tied in with its urban fabric to the urban structure of the adjoining areas. So that was 2023. And then 2024, again, interestingly, was won by a team from Cedar University. The site was in, next slide, Keneal, the site was the site of the former Tsukuji fish market, which was getting relocated. It was again on a waterfront in Tokyo, just down from the main heart of Tokyo. It was linked by significant road infrastructure through the middle of the site, so the designs had to reflect that. It had a flood wall on the water canal at the river, at the southern end of the site, and to the southwest of the site was a substantial botanic gardens. So it had a lot of interesting adjacencies, and the area just to the east of the site was a very rich food-based hospitality retail suburb that had grown up to complement the fish markets. And so the design submission here was quite substantive, very high quality designs. Next slide, Keneal. You'll see here in the graphics how they address the infrastructure through the site, descaling of the site, maintaining the green edge, responding to the water edge, how it linked to the broader site context. This came up with a biochemical strategy about how it was positioned. You also needed to have a large urban attraction here. The city of Tokyo had identified for this site the need that whatever happened at this site, it had to have a major global attraction. So the building in the foreground here was a major attraction, as well as the waterfront building. And you can see here that the students that submitted this design majored in urban design, global governance, sociology. So that's how they brought together this very multi-layered, as Spencer, it was about positioning this site for all of Tokyo in a global sense. If you go to the next couple of slides, if you just click through the next slides, Kanil. I think we must have a lag on the. So this was about how it connected. This was about the water sensitive urban design and carbon footprint. Construction phasing has to be described, and that comes into then your financing, and then how the lifestyle of the place, the super pedestrian friendly, health and innovation, how it's a sustainable. And this was interesting that they talked about the visitors and the residents and the users of the site, and put them in character, and how they would each experience the day in the life of the site. And that was a great way to describe how they were positioning this development for Tokyo. And then finally, I think the last slide. Next slide, Kanil. Was about the technical, the project value, the project cost, how much equity you needed. So again, the pro forma helps you through all of that, and the diversity of mix, hotel development, office construction, etc., and the components that are put together. So we'll have these references up on board. You shouldn't copy them. You should interpret them for your project and your submission, but they are good examples now of some of the, I think the winners and the finalists are on the website now, that you can refer to the sort of information that we're looking for. It shouldn't be repeated. It shouldn't be replicated, but it should be used as a reference point to build your submission, your development proposal. Okay. So last section. So what does that mean in summary terms? If we quickly go through these slides, Kanil, to summarize, your team's 3 to 5 members, one sponsoring university. The university has to sign off on your submission, and they will be checked. The team members that need to come from at least 2 disciplines in the real estate or supportive sectors. The teams can be made up of graduate and final year undergraduate students. They should be from the one university. And then we have a 1-stage submission. You're not expected to do more work in the final presentation, but turn your submission into a PowerPoint or whatever format you choose to present. If you keep, I'll see a couple of questions. I'll come back to them. Our jury chairs for the 3rd year in a row is Chun Fa Ong, a professor from the National University of Singapore, and Peter Hyland, who's a director of Urbis in Australia, who's a fellow at the University of Queensland, and he was based in Singapore and ran Sistries, the partner company of Urbis, their business out of Singapore across Asia. Sure knows the Asian markets very well. They're our chairs. We have a jury this year, probably of 7 people, made up of representatives from Hong Kong, from China, from Singapore, from Australia, from India, probably 2 or 3 from our host city of the summit, Hong Kong. I see the questions coming. I'll answer them in a moment. I've got 2 slides to go. I think we touch on the final one, Kanil, if we may, which is the key dates. I've gone through these before. We're at the Q&A webinar right now. We want to start your registration processes. Again, I know it's early days now, but you can start to prepare for this for early next year. Get your registrations in, and we can confirm our eligibility on or before the 18th of Feb. The competition runs from the 21st of Feb through to the 18th of March. On the 25th of Feb, we will run a webinar. You'll hear my voice again, talking you through the brief and the key attributes of the brief and the requirements of the competition. And then on the 6th of March, we'll have another webinar where you can ask questions of clarification, etc. We target the finalists being announced at the end of March after the closing of the competition on the 18th of March. Okay, so on the questions I have here, is it possible to have teammates from different universities? We need to have at least a majority from one sponsoring university. So if it's acceptable for your sponsoring university to support that, we will consider that. Our preference is from one university, but we have accepted that before. So on a merit basis, so if you're having 5 members in your team and one's from a different university because your university may not have all the faculties, we will accept that on a merit basis. So please email us early, formally, and we can respond formally to you about that question before you have to do it right at the very end. How is the team verification done? On your registration form, you need to submit your details. You need to submit the degree you're studying, and you need to submit the name of the relative person, the responsible person from the university. We contact that university and they will confirm that you are a student in that degree and that you're still an undergraduate or a recent graduate. An email to the faculty organizer by the faculty linking all team members, correct. That is a way that it's done. So that's Keneal runs that process. How many teams can one university sponsor? As many as they like. We have no restriction on that. We would love to get diversity, but we also see the benefit from a university using this as part of their curriculum and program. So we're very happy where we've had approaches from universities where they're wanting to add the competition into their program. And that would mean if they had 20 people in that program, they could have 4 teams of 5 or 5 teams of 4, and we're happy with that. Thanks for your presentation. May I understand more about the deliverables for each of the 3 themes expected for each team? The deliverables themselves, if you're asking about the deliverables of the competition, if you could clarify in the question, you're saying the deliverables from each of the 3 themes expected for each team. We have some principles of the development, and I can take you through the specific deliverables if that's what you're asking. If you could just clarify that, Zhang, if that's a proper pronunciation, please come back to me and I'll follow that up. Does graduate student have to be in final year as well? No. The graduate student could be a first year out graduate student, so it's a recent graduate. So you can have team participants of varying experience. About the online submission of project work, submit on the competition website. Yes, you'll be given your own code. It is an anonymous competition entry, and you will be given a code from Keneal on confirmation of your registration and access to a Google Drive, probably, where you will upload your work, your required submission. 3 parts: narrative, proposal, presentation. Oh no, that's a generic. They're not 3 parts. They are generic approaches. You'll get quite specific criteria about what you need to show in that. So you will have to present a certain number of boards. We're exploring a 3D model to be submitted, because we can then plug it into the Hong Kong city model and have a 3D graphic to represent your scheme that we can do. So you'll prepare. We assume you'll build this in 3D, your submission. So we'd ask you to submit a 3D model, and you'll have specific information to be conveyed on the boards, and I'll talk to them in a tick. And you'll be having a Excel pro forma to fill out, which is your financial analysis. So yes, that is correct. The narrative isn't a specific thing, although you do need to do I think it's a 300-word description of the project. So if you can scroll down the questions a little bit more, Keneal, for me. Can you scroll down the chat or is that I have to do that? I have to do that. Are there a number of posters allowed per team? Yes, we limit the number of boards to be submitted. Do double majors count as multidisciplinary participants in a team? Good question. If you were doing architecture and urban design, probably not. If you're doing architecture or business and urban design, maybe. But we do want people, that's the part of the multidisciplinary is for you to experience the debate between different team members. So we'd take that on merit. So please submit early your question of your specifics around that question about double majors. But we do like to have different people from those streams to allow the experience of everyone. So the designer learns about the influence of economics on their design, and the economic person realizes that they've got to make compromises for quality design, urban design, sustainability, etc. Can the team have advisors? Yes, you're allowed to have both a project sponsor and you can have a faculty an educational mentor. Yes, and that's in your registration form. And you can have an industry expert who also gets referred to in your submission, and they can act as a mentor. So you can have both an educational mentor as well as a industry advisor. So that's 2. I think we limit it to 2. Keneal, just if you could give a thumbs up that's correct. I think we have yeah. So he said yes. How many advisors are allowed? So I think it's 2. One is an educational mentor or advisor, keep you going. I think it is a good thing for the university, make sure you are keeping discipline and submitting, and you can have someone to bounce your ideas off. And we hope, we've had good experience of that, and those people have added to that process rather than try to take it over. How do you define multiple disciplines? Does architecture and urban planning count as 2 disciplines? Yes, it does. Yep. So architecture and urban design would be 2. Economics would be 3. Urban design and architecture are probably. Town planning is separate to architecture. Engineering would be different. Social planning, community infrastructure, social geography, sustainable design, engineering are all examples, as well as economics, business. We've had investment banking from business people who have been in a business degree. So that's the sort of diversity. But yes, even architecture and urban planning would be 2 disciplines. So does that mean master's students are ineligible? No, we would accept masters. We would accept master's students who are still current. Yes. Just coming back, you asked specifically about the submission. I'm just pulling up for my own purposes the competition brief from last year. So the competition will be assessed against the response to strategic objects and principles. So you have strategic objectives and principles that are written in the competition brief. So it may say something specific to the site. Okay, I'll come back to your questions. Let me just answer this about the criteria for judging and the submission. So one is about meeting the strategic objectives and principles set out in the brief, how planning and design decisions have conveyed with economic feasibility, urban design, the quality of the space, and then your ability to identify factors and risks of the feasibility of the project in terms of development, construction cost, infrastructure planning, and the like. So that's some of the more general criteria. So you need to submit 4 sheets in total responding to specific criteria. So there'll be 4 A1 presentation boards that are reduced down to graphics, 1 A3 sheet displaying a copy of the site plan that we use that in a booklet format, 2 3D computer generated images of an iconic image of your presentation, and then an A3 sheet with narrative summaries, each of 500 words, 1 which is your proposal and 1 which is how you engage stakeholders and current residents about their, 1 of which is a narrative about the proposal and what are the things the jury should care about in the proposal? What are your big ideas? What is your strategic intent? And the second one that summarizes your financial planning. You'll have the pro forma Excel template to submit as well. So that's the submission. And then we give you details about the format and the number of pixels, etc., because it's all tied together in terms of the submission. So I have a couple more questions. David, I have a lot more questions. That's, I think, from Keneal. So if you want to keep on posting them up. Can you confirm if a recent graduate is eligible? Yes, a recent graduate is eligible. We say first year, so I do want you to confirm. I don't think a third or fourth year graduate student who's now been in the marketplace, that's not the intent. It's for a first, maybe, or at best a second year graduate would be eligible. Can PhD student participate? Yes, if they're still registered. Sorry, registered to study. If they're still studying, yes. Is it okay if the team is from the same master but different bachelor degree? Definitely. So they've come from different disciplines. So we had a team previously that were now doing a master's in something, but one came into that. Let's just say it was a master's of urban design. One had come from a landscape architecture background. One had come from a town planning background, and one had come from an architectural background. That would be okay. Again, please explain that in an early email to get confirmation before you formalize. Can you safely assume that the project of the competition takes place? Definitely not. You could not safely assume that. You may safely be correct, but you cannot safely assume that. So wait until that comes out. But good question, very incisive. At least you read the program. Can year 2 students join the competition as well, or it's strictly only for final year? Year 2 students of a 5-year degree, probably not. Year 2 students of a 3-year degree, probably yes. Again, as you're probably getting, we have to have rules and criteria that we can exclude and we can maintain an even playing field, but we have some flexibility. So please submit on merit with rationale from your faculty or why that would the year 2 student. Again, we're not trying to have, we do want to have a fair degree of maturity and experience and learnings conveyed in the student team. It's not a first year's competition. So if it's year 2 of a 6-year course, I think we'd be saying no. But if it's year 2 of a 3-year course, multidisciplinary, and that pertain to all of the students, we would consider that. Seems like the location is Hong Kong. Well, thanks for that. Okay. Anything more, Keneal? Yes, that would have to be the case. Recent graduates can participate. The university will still have to recognise and to confirm that they were recent graduates, not graduates of 5 years ago. So the only way we could test the eligibility would be the university that from which they graduated would have to be confirming their details for us. We cannot openly contact everyone and check everyone. If we do not have the data to confirm your eligibility, it will be an illegible registration. Will a location or site of design be assigned, or is it up to students' choice? We select the site and give you the site description and issue you a site plan, a georeference site plan. I think our sites have been 16 hectares and 13 hectares. What exact dimensions, diagrams, number of graphics required. So all of that, it will be in the competition brief. As I said before, it's 4 major boards and a couple of other things. They're all specifically referenced. Will the location or site of design be assigned? So yeah, so I think that's a repeat. So again, the site will be defined in the competition brief. We limit the amount of submission. We equalize the submission to ensure the jury who will go through all 30 entrants or 40 or whatever the number will be have got the same amount of information to compare. So graduate students refer to students who have graduated. So graduate students are recently graduates. So we have graduate students students who have graduated, yes, but we will also accept master's students who are still studying, as well as undergraduate students, final year undergraduate students. Should we provide any certifying letter that students are from different backgrounds? Yes, that will be in your, you need to have that in your registration. So your registration pro forma that you sent will include boxes for you to fill that information in. And if you need any more clarification, you can do that by email to the competition website. Please keep your comms open and early, and we can respond very quickly, as we did last year. Are we good to go? A message from, yeah, I'm sorry, this is not a question. Everyone, I am from NTU studying Bachelor's Environmental Engineering and Urban Planning. If you're interested, partner with me. Nice. Nice. Okay. Clarify graduate student in US context. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Have I missed? Is there any additional questions or content, Keneal, that you feel we've missed? We've probably covered a lot of ground there. No more questions. So I'm going to wrap that up there, unless, what are we at? 4:45? Sorry, 1:45, 1:49 somewhere in the world. I'm in Sydney at 4:45. I hope that's been beneficial to you all. Give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Give us a thumbs down if you don't. But hopefully that has helped. So the key thing now is we have some good questions there, and I'd ask you to be proactive and early in your correspondence to the competition website. You might just put the competition website in the chat there, maybe, Keneal. Can people see the? No, they don't see the chat. Maybe anyone who's registered, it's got our competition website is up and running. Keneal, can you just confirm that's the case? Okay. Well, for more information, yeah, so that's on the website there. ULI, sorry, asia.uli.org. Go into programs, awards, and all the information there from the student comp is there. So, and you've got the email. Please get in early. Keneal and I can respond to you early days, and we look forward to your participation in the competition. Okay. Anything else, Keneal? Or we? All right. Well, thank you very much for your attendance today. Look forward to confirming all your registrations. We have an open conversation on the Hines competition.ap@uli.org. That's Hines, HINES, competition, one word, .ap@uli.org. We can respond early, clarify it, and then we look forward to the launch of the competition in February next year. All right. Good afternoon, all. Hope that was beneficial. Ciao.